Hi, my name is Natalie Linney and I'm a textile artist working with eco print and natural dyes in Manchester. I've always been interested in the natural world since I was a little girl and was really interested in the patterns and colours that you can find in nature. So it's something that I've always had an interest in. The craft that I do now is eco print, which is something you might not have heard of. So it's the way of gathering pigment and colour from natural materials. So you take actual leaves and berries and flowers and roots from trees. You use them to create colour. So this can be gathered by grinding up the roots of trees or different leaves and different flowers, and then that can be made into a dye so that you can colour big sheets of fabric and lots of material in all one go. Or you can use it to print with. So you take the actual leaf and you use that to get a print onto your fabric. The printing is something that I'm more interested in because I really love pattern. So that's kind of been what I've used throughout my practice. Because I'm city based, I generally use a lot of rust and iron in my work because that's what you can find around the city. And I love printing this way because it represents your immediate environment, and I think that's a lovely way of using eco print and dyes, is to represent the actual place that you are right now. I was taught how to dye this way when I was living with an artist called Kate Fletcher in Tasmania. Kate's an amazing person, an amazing artist, and she opens up her house to lots of travellers from all over the world to come and work with her so that she can push her practice in lots of different directions and also pass on her craft. So I found Kate from a thing called woofing, which is willing working on organic farms, where you go and you work with the people on the farms or in their houses, and you exchange your time for food and accommodation. So it's a really lovely way to travel if you're on a budget, and also just to experience new ways of living and to see how other people live their lives all over the world. So I stayed with Kate for 3 years on and off. That's where I learned how to eco print. She's also a huge advocate for sustainable fashion and taught me a great deal about the issues within textile production and waste. She showed me ways to work with discarded fabrics and how to create new pieces out of basically nothing. And I think this is something that I like to carry on throughout all my work, is finding some really simple things that are around you and trying to get the best out of all the materials. You don't need to have high budgets and you don't need to have lots and lots of things. You just need to be imaginative with what you can find. Kate was hugely influential to me, and without meeting her and spending time at her house in Tasmania, I don't think I would have done the career I do today. So she's really an important person and definitely put me on the path for what I do now. When I came back to the UK after travelling, I started my own business making handmade clothing that was all printed with natural fibres and dyed with natural colours. So I did everything from finding the fabrics that I used to try and source sustainably, to dyeing them all, to making them all myself. So it was a really time consuming process to make all these things. They actually did really well, and I sold them all around the northwest in different shops and also at lots of markets. And that kind of got people engaged with what I was doing, so I got quite a lot of customers and interest from that initial way of working. After that, I started getting a lot more interest from galleries and cultural organisations asking me to come and teach my craft or to be part of bigger projects where you're one artist working with lots of different people on a bigger commission. So you're all different parts, like different cogs in a big system. So I really love working that way because I think it's a chance to work with different people, and it also pushes your practice in different directions. So you're not always just doing the same thing. You have to feed off what other people are asking you to do and work to briefs and stuff. So that's kind of how I work today. I mainly work on larger projects now, and recently I've been working with a poet and writer called Anja Malik, and she has been asking me to create designs for her food poetry. So she's been doing some really amazing poetry that's all about how you grow your own food or how you cook with different foods, and we're going to create prints with some of the things that you use to cook with in her poetry and then make them into designs for it. So I'm really excited about that because hopefully this will all get turned into a book as well. So that'll be such a lovely project. Another project I've been involved with recently was with drag artist Cheddar Gorgeous. Cheddar commissioned me to create prints from a specific place in Greater Manchester to be part of a drag look that's going to be exhibited in Salford Museum and Art Gallery's permanent collection. The look is based on the last remaining resident of a grand hall in Little Hulton, and for my part of the project I foraged for leaves in the area and where the gardens used to be and used all these to print the largest continuous piece of fabric I have done to date. So that was really exciting for me because normally I print pieces in small chunks, and this time it was a real challenge to do 5.5 meters all at the same time. So it might not sound that much for everybody else, but for eco-print and natural dyes, that's quite a difficult thing to do. So that was really exciting to have achieved that. As well as these collaborations, I am part of a collective named Salford Makers. Salford Makers was created by artist Sally Guilford in 2018, and we have worked together on commissions, product development, design projects, workshops and courses for the past 3 years. Our studio is at Islington Mill, and we have people coming to learn from us throughout the year. Our studio is a really great place to work, and it's fantastic to be able to work with so many different talented people. Some of my favourite projects we have done so far have been Who's That Girl for S1761, which was a project looking at the forgotten stories of women along the Bridgewater Canal. For my part in that project, I looked at flower parties where different women who weren't allowed to drink alcohol with their friends would create flower parties as a guise for them to be able to socialise as they weren't allowed to. That was a really, really beautiful project, and we created loads of different products that were all sold in Salford Museum and Art Gallery. Another project with Salford Makers was working with Manchester Deaf Centre and Home. This project was really fantastic, mainly because the group was so lively and just created the most amazing prints that we just had loads and loads of things to go off. Spent 10 weeks with the young people from Manchester Deaf Centre, printing in lots of different ways. We also did different design techniques, and then myself and Sally took all the work that the young people had made and created pattern designs that were then made into a whole fashion collection. This ended with a photo shoot, and it was just a brilliant way to end the project because the young people were so amazing and really responded to that. So that was one of my favourite projects as well. Today the activity I've got for you guys is a really simple one where we're just going to use things you can find around your house to make some nice patterns that are really relaxing and you can do with all your family really, or whoever you're living with. So you'll need a piece of paper, the thicker the better really, but if you've just got A4 print paper that's fine. A pen. I use black, but again, you can have an experiment with colours. It doesn't really matter. I just like my line drawings to be in black. A cup of some sort, or a glass will work as well. A small plate. And then you're going to need a little bit of tea or coffee diluted in the bottom of a glass or mug, whichever you have to hand. So if we just get our things out of the way, and you want to pour your glass of coffee or tea onto the plate. Now yours will be a bit more diluted than mine because I'm just showing you this for an example. So if you can use instant coffee, that would be a little bit better than beans. And you're just going to take your mug and coat it in coffee and pop it straight on the plate. And it should start to leave these rings. Now what you want to do is you want to have the rings overlapping so that they create lots of different areas that you can draw in. And once you've done lots with the big area of the cup, you want to use the small area as well to get some little circles onto your plate. So keep doing it all the way. Make sure you can see the coffee rings, otherwise it's not working. But yeah, like I said, you can do this with tea as well, so you can use a tea bag, no problem. And you'll still get the same kind of effect. And just create rings all over your paper. Now I like them looking a bit jumbled and a bit messy, but if you want them to be really neat, you can just do them next to each other. You can just do a few, or you can do loads and loads and loads if you like. That's entirely up to you. Once you've finished with this, make sure you tidy everything up so you're not leaving wet stuff everywhere. And just put this to dry. It doesn't matter if it drips a bit, that'll give a nice kind of pattern as well. But you just want to put your paper somewhere to dry. And it should end up coming out something like this. So you'll have lots of different overlapping rings all over your piece of paper and all these nice splodges where you've dripped a bit of coffee or tea. And then you just take your pen and you're just going to fill in the gaps with whatever kind of patterns you would like. So I like doing lines into these little pieces. And I like drawing lines just because they make me feel really relaxed. And you can think of a theme if you want. So you could maybe do it all to do with nature, or you could do it with lots of things to do with summer or spring, or things that you like. You know, you could try and think of different symbols for all your favourite things and then draw them into the circles. It's entirely up to you. And another thing that's quite nice to do is if you've got younger siblings, you could get each of you to do a different one, so you each do a different drawing, and then it's kind of a collaborative piece, which I think would look really lovely. So yeah, make sure you're going into all the little areas, and yeah, just decorate them entirely how you want to. I always seem to pick nature themes because that is what I work with all the time. So whenever I start drawing, it always tends to end up being something to do with flowers and rivers and sunshines, but that's quite nice because spring's coming, so I've got lots of inspiration. But yeah, you can be as neat or as messy as you want with this. It's just about covering every single little area that you have. So you might want to do some circles in this one. And you can just mark make. You can just take the pen and have a go. Lots of different techniques all over your page. And it's something that you can leave and come back to, or you could do over different days. It's entirely up to you. So I had a go at one a few days ago. It's not entirely finished, but it came out looking something a bit like this. So there was some birds and a sunshine and different patterns and lots of lines going on here. And yeah, this is the kind of thing we're aiming for. So I hope you guys have fun.